Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back with another video from Clyde. This is going to be an interesting one. The strongest Espada you've never heard about. Love me some Bleach content when Clyde's covering it. Let's see what this is about, or who this is about.
Throughout the early 2000s, Bleach had a lot of cool side material. Awesome covers of Weekly Shonen Jump magazine, planned crossovers with Naruto, one of the best dubs of all the big shonen,
It is a good dub. It's a really good dub.
movies,
Oh, mate.
promotional items,
Ooh.
and best of all, a plethora of video games.
Never play. Oh, have I? I don't think I've played a Bleach video game.
Almost 30 to be exact.
Whoa.
In one of these games, a character by the name of Arturo Plateiro
Whoa! He looks cool.
debuted in Bleach Shattered Blade, published by Sega and released on the Nintendo Wii on the 14th of December 2006.
Wow. Alright, interesting. Who came up with the design?
Without getting too much into the game itself, it was basically a game solely for the Nintendo Wii and was a 2D anime fighter. As rumors suggest, we're looking at getting a new Bleach game somewhat soon. Hopefully a good 2D fighter like some of the ones in the past, or at the very least a game that utilizes the polished Storm engine from the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games. That being said, within this game there is an Arrancar that was essentially made and designed solely for the game, Arturo. At face value, his design looks like a fusion between Grimmjow and Ukiura.
Yeah, pretty
Mask
much.
on the face, Torquay's hair, edgy like Ukiura, but cocky like Grimmjow.
Cool.
During the time period of 2006 to 2010, Grimmjow and Ukiura were super popular amongst the Bleach fandom and were so well received that Grimmjow went from being a character only intended to stay temporarily to being added permanently in the story.
Mate, I love it when he comes back later as well. Oh, I can't wait for that to happen in the next part of the anime. Oh,
Now, Arturo really does encapsulate the vibe of the early 2000s Espada. He feels like an early 2000s OC Espada that you would see on those OG websites where they'd make fan art for these kind of characters.
right, okay.
Now, there are arguments on whether or not this character is officially canon. Sometimes with older side material for series like Naruto or One Piece, it's hard to find out all of the information on how heavily involved the authors were in the production. Did they sign off on it?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Like, did Kubo...
Everything? Were old interviews lost in
Like, have anything
translation
to do
or
with it?
hard to find because of obscure magazines released back then? The very fact that most of these OG early 2000s interviews are only in Japanese makes it such a difficult barrier of entry to find stuff. Back in the early 2000s, there used to be a massive archive website of Bleach interviews and old material, but it was shut down. So there are not only countless lost feats from the series, but very unique pieces of information that we may never see again. It's not as though they've vanished from existence, but more so it's harder to find them
Just
because,
harder to
again,
acquire it,
some
yeah.
of these things were super obscure at the time and only accessible in Japanese. Even without this character being officially canon, I want to explain that this guy is so strong, he was stated to have defeated half the Soul Society's military force and Yamamoto. Over 1,000 years before the mainline story of Bleach, Arturo, like Stark, was a natural-born Arrancar of insane power.
Yeah, what a dude.
His desire was to destroy all Shinigami and the Soul Society. To achieve this, he decided to invade the Soul Society by himself, taking down half their military might in his initial attack. After doing so, the Soul Society realized he was so strong that they couldn't defeat him via conventional means, and sealed him within the Mukin for multiple centuries. Just like the Espada did, he also spoke with a Spanish accent to his English. Referred to as a calculated strategist and also a ruthless individual in combat, he acts with an unrivaled lust for power. Similar to Grimmjow, he absolutely refuses to be defeated in combat and possesses a level of confidence bordering on arrogance. Even after making a deal with Aizen, he expresses the desire to kill him twice.
Oh.
What games does he appear in? His first appearances were in Bleach Shattered Blade
Oh, so he's in more than one. Alright.
back in 2006, and in Bleach The Third Phantom, a game which was released on the Nintendo DS in June of
And with Sega again.
2008. His most powerful feats. Arturo's most insane feats are so insane that he would be regarded as a late-game character within the normal story if he appeared. Not only did he single-handedly decimate half the military might of the Soul Society, which is almost more impressive than the Stern Ridders in Espada, but after being sealed within the Mukin, his seals just naturally started to fade away, as they could not contain his power. His Zanpakuto Phoenix, with an F, also utilizes a very strong ability of being able to absorb the Reiatsu of anyone he defeats to strengthen himself.
What?
The game describes that his mere presence alone makes captain-level opponents flee from him. It's also described that he doesn't even have to defeat said opponent to absorb their Reiatsu, it can passively happen while in normal combat. When he first invaded the Soul Society, his powers were actually immature, and it's shown that he becomes far stronger as the story progresses. In Bleach Third Phantom, it takes the combined efforts of the Gote 13 to stop him,
No, shut up. This guy's ridiculous.
and he's still able to flee to go and heal. Arturo is so ancient that he is actually recognized by Yamamoto and described as a threat within Yoruichi's royal family scrolls. In Bleach Shattered Blade, he was specifically sealed below the Sokyoku, and during the rescue of Rukia, Ichigo accidentally set him free. Throughout the game, he disguises himself as various characters so they can help him retrieve pieces of the Sokyoku to absorb himself. Depending on how you proceed with the story, he is either purified or he absorbs all of the Sokyoku and destroys the Soul Society. In the manga, the Sokyoku is stated to do three things: have the power of 36 million Zanpakuto when attacking, destroy the Soul Society, and overwhelm everything in existence with its mere spiritual pressure. Within the game, you're allowed to play as Ichigo, Renji, Toshiro, Yoruichi, Kenpachi, Byakuya, and Hanataro. Once all shards are gathered, you face Arturo. If you're playing as Yoruichi, he cannot recognize you correctly. Once all stages are beaten, you unlock Arturo. When playing as him, you're able to actually fight all the good guys and even defeat Yamamoto. In Bleach Third Phantom, after several centuries of mastering his powers, he invades the Soul Society. During his encounters with Shunsui and Ukitake, they actually flee from him because they're scared to increase his power, which, as I described before, can actually passively happen while in combat.
Oh, that's mad. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, if you're spending too long against him and he can just passively just... Oh my god. Yeah.
Yamamoto faces him in a one-on-one and uses Ryojin Jaka to trap him in a flame prison. Yamamoto himself then flees the battlefield to give himself time to cook up a plan. He goes so far that he summons a meeting with Kisuke Urahara and Yoruichi Shihoen, claiming they need to use the Shishuko, Burning Water Mirror, to drain Arturo of his powers. Apologies if I said that wrong, there's a lot of words in here which are very far away from Australian English.
Right.
Even after being sealed, he eventually reappears 100 years later in Hueco Mundo. He is then found by Gin Ichimaru and taken to Aizen in Los Noches. At first, he isn't trusting, obviously, but is invited to join the ranks of his army by Aizen. Aizen even helps him regain his full powers, then sends him off with Gin, Tosen, and Grimmjow to head to the Soul Society. Eventually, a new wielder of the Shishuiko appears and seals Arturo, only for it to be revealed that Aizen had set him up so he could steal it.
Oh.
Arturo's abilities are actually quite overpowered, so I'm going to go point by point and list out every single thing that he can do, because when you hear this, you're going to be like, what the f***?
Yeah, okay, go on.
Now, unlike most of the Aranka or Espada who wield very linear arsenals, Arturo has a lot of unique abilities. He can shapeshift into Shinigami and even Zanpakuto spirits, can summon weird X-shaped projectiles which probably work like Sero's. He's showcased to not just be good at Sero's or sword fighting, but hand-to-hand combat. His Sonito easily outspeeds those he fights, like even Yamamoto.
Crazy.
Can summon a blade that is likely made of a similar substance to Ichigo's Black Getsuga. He can do this anytime he points his arm out. He actually uses an attack within the game that essentially guarantees a 17-hit blitz.
Jesus.
Which, if you wanted to compare that to, say, Zomari's Hemeros Sonito, 17 is quite a lot more than what Zomari seems to be able to do. Arturo can wield a white Kaha Negation called Spatial Prison that allows him to seal opponents temporarily. Throughout the games, it's noted that his spiritual pressure is gigantic, and the very fact Yamamoto felt the need to trap him with Jokaku Enjo speaks to how dangerous he is.
Jesus Christ.
Considering that very technique was able to keep Aizen, Gin, and Tosen trapped during the Karakura Town War Arc, he's shown to be so strong that using items which might kill the player are necessary just to defeat him. In Bleach Shattered Blade, his normal red Seros are showcased to be far larger than normal. In Bleach the Third Phantom, his Seros are instead shown to be white. Naturally, as one would assume, he can also wield the Gran Rey Sero and Balas. Something incredibly edgy about his character is what he states about his Resurrection: Phoenix, immortal and graceful. In my original form, my body emerges even from the smallest of grains of ash. A beautiful power that by Shinigami, as you cannot witness, unequaled, the beauty and fury released from my flames and grace. To put it to you short, we don't actually get to see his resurrection, but we know that he's got one, so anything that I've stated here, just assume that he's going to get an increase of 1 through 10 times if he goes into that form, and the fact that he speaks about it like that in such a eloquent, cocky way, I'm going to assume it's quite OP. Even while severely injured, losing limbs, or being sealed, he can not only heal everything back, but reappear somewhere else even when sealed. The closest thing we do have to his release form being shown is his ability to summon wings, one for normal display, the other for attack mode. Quite similar to the wings shown by Uryu when he activates his Quincy Let Steel. Yeah. He also has some edgy quotes, which is, pretty common in basically every anime series. Stuff like, "No one may exist who are stronger than me," "I am unstoppable," etc., etc. Just thought it would be worth mentioning. There's also other weird miscellaneous powers and random stuff like that I could mention, but when it comes to video game related stuff, one of the troubles with, say, scaling someone like a Cloud or Dante, Kratos, etc. is, am I including items? Am I including health bars? Am I including auto regeneration on the stamina bar? There's lots of really complicated stuff, but if you want to start including those things too, you can go even further with this, but you get the general gist of what I'm saying here about what is shown within the games. How would he rank amongst the Espada if he was in the current story or the Arrancar arc? Given his inherent ability to absorb powers and grow infinitely, he's essentially wielding an ability similar to both Yami's Rage and Ardenyero's absorbing technique. The very fact that he makes Shunsui and Ukitake flee, along with being able to defeat Yamamoto in combat or just make him run away, means he would easily surpass the powers of any previously shown Espada, be it manga, anime, or novels. Yamamoto running instead of using Bankai, and Arturo having scaling related to wielding the Sokyoku, makes him absolutely disgusting.
Ridiculous.
And with all of his power increases from battle, this can all be amplified by up to 10 times due to his resurrection, as said earlier, meaning he might genuinely be the strongest, or at the very least have the capability to be the strongest Hollow in the entire story with time. By the way, I do want to add something to close off the video. Can someone explain to me why he has Espada clothing? As far as I'm concerned, this clothing is entirely Aizen's design, and when Stark was found as a natural-born Arrancar along with Ukiura, they were both on some homeless Toji kind of shit. I'm sure it's just one of those things that easily slip the minds of the designers, but maybe it needs clarification in the comments. Regardless, for some obscure, barely known Hollow, he is overpowered as...
Yeah, that's mental. Wow. Wow. I had no clue. That was so cool. That's really interesting. But it's interesting that he's in 2 games, both made for Nintendo. It's both the Nintendo and Sega, both. Wow. Interesting. We've learned something new today. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video, I want to be able to watch Patreon-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series. Links in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for that. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? If you guys think of this, click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys all, guys. Nickname.